One Circular Quay is inspired by the world's most beautiful harbour and its prestige address. These will be unique homes that will stand the test of time. Spaces that feel harmonious, generous, effortless. These apartments will be classics of the future, enjoyed for generations to come.
Wowee, what a day on spectacular Sydney Harbour for the 2024 SOLAS Big Boat Challenge, which also coincides with the final race, the climax of the One Circular Quay Australian Maxi Championship. So there are going to be 4 trophies decided today, and with these conditions, it's going to be a spectacular run to the first mark at Quay Point off Manly. It's going to be a very fast run. And welcome aboard the Sail Media Camera Cab. Gordon Bray and the Oracle, the legendary voice of Australian sailing, great Australian yachtsman Peter Shipway. Pete, southerly conditions, it's gusting over 20 knots. What can we expect?
Yes, good afternoon, Gordon. Good afternoon, everyone. Yes, it is certainly a great day here on the harbour. This southerly is built from early morning, and we've got about 18 to 20 knots now. And as you said, this run to Manly will be fast, furious and spectacular, especially for the 2 big 100-footers in Comanche, Master Lock Comanche and LawConnect. So a lot to play for. No room for mistakes today because it's going to be a very quick race. They go to Manly, Quay Point, as you said, and then the beat back to Shark Island.
And Wild Thing 100 is the third of the 100-footers, and there are 8 boats competing. We have 5 mini-maxis, and one of those boats is in the prime position to take the overall Australian Maxi Championship. URM Group having a very narrow lead over Wild Oats 10, and it comes down to the 4 championship trophies that are being presented here today. But they're the standings, Peter Shipway, in the Australian Maxi Championship. It's URM Group. This is the IRC corrected time standings. URM Group is in first place ahead of Wild Oats 10, Whisper third, followed by Moneypenny and LawConnect. But any one of these boats can come through and take out the big championship.
Well, URM only leads by 1 point over Wild Oats 10, and then another 2 points to Whisper. So I think it's probably a race in 3 between those 3 today on IRC handicap. But the real battle, and for the spectators, of course, is the line honours battle as we look at Comanche there, Master Lock Comanche, and there's the point score.
So Master Lock Comanche ahead of LawConnect and Wild Thing on line honours. That's in the Australian Maxi Championship, sponsored by One Circular Quay, which is a residential development in the pole position at Circular Quay, rising 58 stories. So you'll have an opportunity to watch all the action when it's finally completed in 2026. But LawConnect, line honours victor in the 2023 Rolex Sydney Hobart in that gripping finish over Comanche.
Well, that's the battle today for those 2 big boats, the line honours battle. And we saw last year in very different conditions, a nor'easterly sea breeze of about 15 knots. LawConnect got the job done over Comanche, as she was known then. And then, of course, she went on to crown that victory with the win in the Rolex Sydney Hobart race by 51 seconds. But Christian Beck has imported most of the same crew again. Tony Nutter will be steering with Chris Nicholson his right-hand man, Chris Lewis, the navigator from the United States, will be on board. And some really good yachtsmen there as we look at one of the most beautiful boats on the harbour, Wild Oats 10. Mark Richards again steering this boat, and she's been very consistent so far in this Maxi series. She was 6th in the Cabbage Tree race, then won the short race on Sunday and finished 3rd yesterday. As we look at Whisper now, Dave Griffiths, Judel Vrolic, 62-footer, and she's within striking distance, I think you could say, of this point score. She's had a 3rd, 5th and 4th. But today it's all about keeping your nose clear, getting your gear handling up to scratch, because there'll be no room for mistakes. Such a short course. The start, always important, but especially so today because it's going to be such a quick passage down to Manly. These big boats are going to be at 20 knots plus once they unfurl their asymmetric spinnakers and get on the charge down towards Manly. I think they'll probably lay it in one. There may be a jibe or two down the harbour. It's a bit difficult to say. If the breeze flicks back a bit more into the south, it's probably just a whisker east of south at the moment, about 18 to 20 knots. They may get down to Quay in one without jibing, but we'll see as they advance down the harbour. The puffs tend to go a bit more left in Rose Bay and Watson's Bay. And there's David Goats's No Limit. And a great win yesterday in the short offshore race on the off Sydney Harbour. They scored an outstanding victory. They picked the shifts well up. The beat went left hard and the breeze went their way. And David Goats, a very popular winner with his boat, No Limit. And again, all these boats, highly credentialed crew. Barney Walker, multiple Sydney Hobart race winner aboard for David Goats. Steve Kemp, navigator from South Australia, on board. But that's the scene. Beautiful conditions. Whitecaps are plenty on the harbour. Almost a cloudless sky and plenty of breeze.
Well, this historic race has been running for more than 25 years and is one of the most anticipated events in the build-up to the Rolex Sydney Hobart. So we're just 16 days away from Boxing Day now. And as mentioned, there are 3 100-footers, Master Lock Comanche, LawConnect and Wild Thing, and then 5 boats from the mini-maxi division. We have Moneypenny, No Limit, URM Group, Whisper, and Wild Oats 10. Alive was a withdrawal after having damage to her rudder in the Cabbage Tree Island race at the start. But Alive will be certainly in the action in the Rolex Sydney Hobart, the 2-time winner on corrected time of the race.
So if you've just joined us, we've got about 7 minutes to go to the start. Up off Double Bay and Clark Island area, but between Clark Island and beautiful Point Piper. And the boat's now just getting back behind the line. There's some exclusion buoys running down the line for about 200 metres from the start, that the race boats have got to stay between those marks and the spectators have got to stay outside those marks. And we've got a huge spectator fleet lined up at the windward end, as you'd expect, up off Point Piper. There's ferries, there's runabouts, there's all sorts of boats out there, and they're going to have to put the wick down, I think, to keep up with these, especially the big boats, because that run to Manly is going to be very quick indeed. So they go down to Manly, back to Shark Island, back down to Manly or Quay Point again, back to Shark Island, and then leave that to starboard, and then the finish up off the Opera House. So same course as previous years, but going to be a very fast passage. They're going to be hard on the wind coming out of Quay Point back to Shark Island, but it'll be a long port tack as we look there at Christian Back's LawConnect, a beautiful harbour bridge, and Kirribilli in the background. And that's the starting boat there in the foreground, and that's the other end of the line, that orange buoy just near the northern pylon of the harbour bridge for those that can sight it down there. And there's Wild Oats 10. They've imported some really good yachtsmen to crew aboard Wild Oats 10. And there's No Limit, yesterday's winner.
That's a near sister ship to Loki, which won the Sydney Hobart on corrected time in 2011. Investec Loyal took line honours that year. And also had a few celebrities on board Investec Loyal back in 2011. And I note there are some celebrities involved today here, Peter Shipway, but we can touch on that during the race. URM Group has Wallaby Bill Young, the pub baron, on board.
So we've just heard the sound signals from the committee vessel. 5 minutes to go to the start. Breeze is up here. It's 18, 20 knots, and that's the observations from the Western Channel pile on Sydney Harbour, the wedding cake on the western side. There's Grant Warrington's Wild Thing 100. Keegan York, an outstanding 18-foot skiff sailor, is on board Wild Thing 100 and going to Hobart. Keegan sails the Finport on a Sunday for the 18-footers and a former Australian skiff champion.
Yes, co-skippered is Adrian Seaford, this 100-footer. Lengthened last year from 80 to 100 feet, just in time for the Rolex Sydney Hobart.
But kept the mast the same height, Gordon. So it's a 100-footer with an 80-footer mast. So you'll see a squat rig on that boat, but probably today's fresher breezes, it won't be such a disadvantage. But there's LawConnect. A lot of new sails on board this year. She's just tacking now down off Shark Island to come back to the starting area with about 3:50 to go. She won't want to tarry. She's got to come back but she will come back at quick speed. Now, there's the starting line, starting vessel, Clark Island and the city skyline. 3.5 minutes to go. With a few boats, only... How many starters we got, Gordon? 8, is it?
Yeah, 8 starters.
8 starters,
three
yeah.
100-footers.
There's plenty of room for everyone. Unlike Friday night with 60 boats on the start line at Cabbage Tree Island Race, there was not much room, but today there is plenty of room. And
Not to mention the twilight race from another fleet with 60-odd yachts.
That's right. There was plenty of activity on the harbour. And they're all behind the starting line except LawConnect, which has decided to come down the harbour and now going back with just under 3 minutes to go.
And Peter, the start, all important. At the press conference this morning, Mark Richards made that point. Christian Beck was there, LawConnect. LawConnect won the start from Lock Comanche last year and was able to control the race, the SOLAS big boat race. And as events turned out, they were able to take line honours as well. So it's about bragging rights here today for these big boys. But certainly, as history told us, this race also points towards the Rolex Sydney Hobart.
But the boats will just hold here now and then try and get time on distance to the start line and then put the foot down, because win the start here of, say, the two big Maxis, Master Lock Comanche and LawConnect, it will really lead you into a very good performance. If you can get this start, get to the first mark early, you could really control this race. And that's what both Tony Mutter and Matt Allen and his team, along with Ian Murray, will be trying to do, obviously, to win this start and get down that harbour and get to Quay first. But there's going to be plenty of action. You can see LawConnect now coming back on port tack, just going below the starting line. And we're starting to go with 1:30 to go. They're just holding up there. No spinnakers out as yet or asymmetric sails out yet. They'll all unfurl. No conventional spinnakers. They'll all be reaching spinnakers. Set off the bowsprit or the bow pole. 1:20 now. Time on distance critical. Now, where's Tony Mutter going with...
He's at the pin end.
He's at the pin end. He'll be looking for Master Lock Comanche, who's running down on starboard. These two will be at each other for sure because they know how critical this start is.
And there they are at the moment, just going past Clark Island, facing each other. It's a face-off.
Okay, a minute to go. LawConnect looks a bit slow. He's got a tack here. There's LawConnect tacking. There's Master Lock Comanche coming behind him. Tony Mutter's trying to get the bow down now, 40 seconds to go, but they wind up pretty quickly, these boats, and there's plenty of wind to wind them up. So Spinnaker's starting to come unfurled. That's Wild Thing 100's unfurled. Grant Warrington. Okay, we're starting to get towy now, 30 seconds to go. LawConnect above Master Lock Comanche. You can see the unfurled sails on the forestay there, running to the top of the mast. Master Lock holding LawConnect up. And in the mix there, there's no limit. Okay, we're 10 seconds to go. Unfurls will be starting now. Master Lock Comanche, bow down, speed up. LawConnect can't get the bow down at the moment across no limit. Okay, we're racing. All clear. Clear start we've got from the committee vessel, and we're away to Manly. LawConnect and Master Lock Comanche unfurl these massive reaching sails. Great start from Master Lock Comanche on the right. She's got the pressure on.
Wild Thing 100 also having a good start.
Lacking a little bit of horsepower there, Wild Thing. LawConnect trying to punch out in front of Wild Thing, and that behind them is No Limit. And they're away, and it's first points to Master Lock Comanche. She's slightly advanced on LawConnect. LawConnect a little bit chicken winged up there.
So that start, that vital start, the advantage here to Master Lock Comanche.
You see she's got a really good puff now to get the bow down. And they're getting down to Quay in one here. There'll be no jibing in this breeze direction. They are absolutely hammering now. Look at there's some of the smaller mini-maxis just getting across the starting line there. That's Money Penny, Rob Appleyard from Western Australia, and down to leeward of her, Whisper Dave Griffith. But okay, focus on Master Lock Comanche. She leads. And they are away. They've got about a 4-boat length lead over LawConnect.
She's doing over 20 knots at the moment.
LawConnect in the middle. Wild Thing 100 above her. What a sight for the spectators. And what a thrill for these crews. They couldn't get a better wind angle to get down to Manly. Easily getting down in one here.
Matt Allen and James Mayo, the co-skippers on Master Lock Comanche. James Mayo with his World Etchell crew members, Graham Taylor and Richard Allenson on board.
These boats are about 26, 27 knots at the moment. They're off Taylor Bay already in Sydney Harbour, for those that know the harbour. They're probably going to be about an 8 or 9 minute run down to Manly, very quick. Sails look terrific on Master Lock Comanche. Great trim on the big asymmetric spinnaker. There's LawConnect trying to put the bow up a little. That's Wild Thing to windward, but we can't see LawConnect at the moment. She's blocked. There she is now, just coming out behind Comanche.
They've opened up a big gap on the mini-maxis.
But also Master Lock Comanche's opened up a big gap on LawConnect. Perfect angle for Master Lock Comanche. 25 knots plus boat speed.
Well, she's showing here, Peter, while she's rated the fastest 100-footer in the world. Absolutely beautifully trimmed and in the groove.
Well, she's giving LawConnect's giving Comanche a start now. It's about a 10 to 12 boat lead. And the boat that's impressing down here is Wild Thing 100. We'll see him in a moment. She's about equal with LawConnect. So that little squat rig paying dividends in this strong breeze. There they go. There's Grant Warrington's Wild Thing 100 on the left. The leaders already at the Western Channel pile on the harbour, so they're all about halfway down to the Quay point. They've only been racing 4 minutes. It is quite unbelievable the speed of these boats, especially Master Lock Comanche.
She's doing 27 knots at the moment. Incredible.
Spectator fleet struggling to keep up. Just getting down towards Obelisk Bay now. The breeze a little bit lighter, but still plenty of breeze coming out of Rose Bay. But the next key will be to get these sails, reaching sails furled and put down below for the beat back into Rose Bay. But highly credentialed crews, all these boats.
Wild Thing 100 has passed LawConnect now clearly into second place as we look at URM Group, who's been absolutely startling in her performances in the last few races. and she's leading in the Maxi Championship IRC. So a good performance today could clinch the overall Australian Maxi Championship, sponsored by One Circular Quay.
Yeah, Wild Thing 100's got the bow across in front of LawConnect. That reaching sail looks pretty big on LawConnect. Maybe it's a little too big for this reach. Master Lock Comanche's reaching sail asymmetrical is a lot smaller in size, appears to me, but they're just our middle head 5 minutes into the race.
Peter, there are the other two 100-footers astern.
Yeah, it's a big lead now to Master Lock Comanche.
150 metres.
Just the breeze a little lighter here. She's just slowed down a little, probably down to a more moderate 18 knots.
We've been racing right on 6 minutes as we're closing on the Quay Point mark rounding.
Still a good southerly breeze, probably 15, 18, maybe 20 knots in the gusts. You can see the gap that the Wild Thing's jumped over the top of LawConnect. She's a couple of boat lengths ahead there. And that's a good reaching performance from the Wild Thing boys. That's the overhead of Comanche. She's probably about 500 metres from the turning mark at Quay Point. And as you'd expect, these three have just sprinted away from the 60 and 70 footers. But they've got to do that if they want to get their time on handicap. They carry big handicap ratings, these boats.
Just off middle head at the moment, our leaders, as we work our way back through the fleet at URM Group. Wild Thing 100 ahead of LawConnect. Those two battling for the second spot at the moment. But Master Lock Comanche with a command performance. Yeah, that gap is closed, Peter Shipway.
Yeah,
it's
Wild
only
Thing's put a good puff down.
150 down to about 50 metres.
Yeah, Wild Thing's really done a fine job here to close down as they get ready to furl these reaching sails. But LawConnect's dropped off the pace. But Wild Thing's obviously found a favourable angle to come down with, and it's being suited to these wind angle and speed. And Wild Thing 100 about to furl. Okay, they get the furl done. Nice and tidy. Master Lock Comanche cannot be far off a furl. Here. LawConnect going to leeward of Wild Thing.
They're 100 metres from the mark.
Yeah, they're holding on and holding on. There goes Comanche with the furl. They've got to get this tidy and down below. That's how quickly they can furl these sails.
LawConnect has come back here, Peter.
Well, she's hung onto the spinnaker a lot longer, but she's on the outside of Wild Thing 100, so she'll have to give her room. And we're about two boat lengths from Comanche to go round the mark. You'll see it pop up in a moment. So Master Lock Comanche leads. Not by that much. They've closed up, as you said before, Wild Thing and LawConnect. Okay, Comanche's around. Now they've got to wrestle that furl sail down below. They'll probably do it when they tack. Okay, so LawConnect round the outside of Wild Thing 100. And the bit long beat back now to Rose Bay.
LawConnect coming round the outside of Wild Thing 100 with a bit more speed. That margin, 25 seconds in favour of Master Lock Comanche over second-placed Wild Thing 100.
Well, Wild Thing's got LawConnect locked out here. LawConnect can't do anything really till Wild Thing 100 tacks. And just up ahead of them, Master Lock Comanche has tacked. There goes Wild Thing. So free lane now for LawConnect to come back on port tack. So Wild Thing settling down on port. And now the next lot of the mini-maxis are about to close down on the mark, but
Money Penny doing a very good job coming up to the mark, but a minute and a half behind the lead Maxi.
Okay, well, this will be a good boat speed test between Comanche now and LawConnect on the beat back to Rose Bay. There's LawConnect has already just tacked, but there's Master Lock Comanche. She's got a long port tack up into Rose Bay. And she's holding a good lead over LawConnect of about 100 metres or so. Just getting those furl sails down below. Money Penny will be next around. Rob Appleyard. He'll be pleased with that effort. Next behind him will be Wild Oats 10. But we're concentrating here on Master Lock Comanche, right in the middle of Sydney Heads, in beautiful sailing breeze, southerly of 18 knots, maybe a touch more in the puffs. And they're the two big fellas that will fight the Rolex Sydney Hobart race out for the line honours battle, you would think.
Well, the handicap leader in the Maxi Championship, URM Group, has suffered a little bit on that first leg and is back in sixth position at the moment.
Yeah, they are way back. I mean, normally they'd be up with Wild Oats 10, but obviously they didn't get off the line well. And just to leeward of her is Whisper. And then further back is No Limit. But concentrating on the two leaders, they'll be laying Steel Point, which is at the western end of Nielsen Park. So there'll be no more tacking for the moment. They'll just stay on this long port tack up into Watson's Bay. They'll probably have to crack off a little at the moment with the way they're heading. You can see Steel Point way in the background. LawConnect just trying to hang off the hip of Master Lock Comanche.
Very choppy, rough conditions here between the heads.
Yeah, a lot of spectator boats are churning this water up as well as the breeze. But a comfortable position now Master Lock Comanche's in. She can really control the race from here. Wild Thing tacked early and has gone more up the middle of the harbour. She's right over near Middle Head. She's not holding the height of these other two. But she put a pretty good effort down that harbour to come around that mark second.
There's some startling downwind speed, particularly in the second half of the leg, Peter.
What we're seeing here, Gordon, after saying they might lay through to Steel Point, both Master Lock Comanche and LawConnect have taken a bit of a header, so they're not anywhere laying down the harbour, but the breeze plays tricks under South Head and Camp Cove area. They'll get truer breeze up off Watson's Bay near the Eastern Channel Pile. So we'll just see how this plays out in the next 200 or 300 metres. But LawConnect hanging in. It's a hard place to live there for LawConnect. He can't really put the bow down to gain a bit of speed, otherwise you'll get into the dirty gas of Comanche. So Tony Mudd has just got to hold his height here.
And talk about a quick race. We're just not quite 15 minutes into the SOLAS Big Boat Challenge.
They're halfway up to Shark Island.
Shark Island, the next rounding mark for the 100-footers and the rest of the fleet. There's spectator boats everywhere. It's like Boxing Day here at the moment.
And LawConnect really getting a good left-hand lift there. She's now back up on the lay line for the steel point. She'll take all that so she can stay away from the gauge some height off Master Lock Comanche. It's the Eastern Channel pile there she's aiming at. Real big left-hander.
Over on the Western Shore, Wild Thing 100 getting a knock just off middle head.
A bit to play here for LawConnect is certainly not going away. She's come right up on the hip of Master Lock Comanche. Master Lock Comanche's tacking. Okay, she's tacked. Interesting. Maybe they're worried about the Sound Peaks Reef. So she's going to put a little short starboard tack in. To go into Camp Cove. I think she was above the peaks, but she probably wanted to cover off on LawConnect. This is interesting here.
We're back to a two-boat war on the eastern side. And on the other side of the harbour is Wild Thing 100 in her own race.
Yeah, she is running her own race, but looking at her at the moment, she'll be a fair way behind when she comes back on starboard between the two big fellas. Now, this is a real cat and mouse game now. Master Lock Comanche tacked right on the gas of LawConnect. Look how close they are. Now, can Tony Mutter put the pedal down and free his air to leeward of Comanche? But Comanche's driving down a little bit quicker at the moment. This has become a very close race again, but still Comanche holds the whip hand here. She's starting to extend a little bit. That was an interesting move. He was obviously worried about the height that LawConnect was getting in the left-handed puff, so he had to cover off on him, which he's done. No, game on.
So historically, in the SOLAS Big Boat Challenge, the boat that wins the start usually takes the line on us. So Comanche, Master Lock Comanche, won the start, but being severely challenged now by LawConnect, who took line on us last year from Andrew Comanche, the same boat.
So LawConnect may have to try and get out of there because he's eating a lot of dirty air, and you can see how quickly Master Lock Comanche's advancing. Tony Mutter's trying to get the bow up to minimise the damage. He probably can't afford to tack because he's probably on a lay line up to Steel Point. So pretty smart move by Master Lock Comanche. He's right on the gas there, but as we concentrate on Wild Thing, she's down off Clifton Gardens, Chowder Bay on Sydney Harbour on the western side. And the Shark Island mark is dead upwind of her now in this southerly of beautiful sailing conditions, 15 to 18 knots.
Co-skippered by Grant Warrington and Adrian Seifert. Grant on the helm at the moment on Wild Thing 100.
Okay, so Comanche is extended again, almost back to where they were before she took the tack. Just see how LawConnect's hurting there. I think she can't do much but just to grin and bear it. There's plenty of breeze as they're approaching Rose Bay. Probably gone back right a little bit, the breeze. There's the 3 leaders. This is Wild Thing in the foreground. She'll be third, and there's Comanche just popping out the front of her, down off Watson's Bay, coming up to Nielsen Park, and there's LawConnect trailing her.
Separated by about 750 metres from Wild Thing across to the 2 other 100-foot rivals. Moneypenny was the lead boat of the mini-maxis, doing a grand job for Rob Appleyard from Western Australia, newly purchased from Sean Langman. Moneypenny finishing a stunning third in the Rolex Sydney Hobart last year.
Wild Oats coming up the middle of the harbour. There's Sound Pigs, one of the cardinal markers there at Sound Pigs. So Wild Oats had to tack back onto starboard. Should be laying in towards Camp Cove. Plenty of breeze, lovely breeze. Whisper in the background coming up on port tack.
The thing about Wild Oats is that she really hasn't been changed since she was launched. So it's the original boat, and she's putting in another magnificent performance here, but trailing Moneypenny going around that Cano Point mark. And Whisper in the background.
Well, Whisper's the lowest rating handicap-wise of the fleet here, so she's very well positioned at the moment on handicap. And those smaller boats are back off Sound Pigs, Camp Cove area. But all making good time in this beautiful southerly breeze of 18 to 20 knots.
Dave Griffith won the inaugural Mini-Maxi Championship back in 2021 in Whisper.
Okay, well, that's the gap now that Master Lock Comanche's opened up. So really good tactical move by taking that little shortening tack up off Camp Cove. And unfortunately, LawConnect has just got to stay behind until leeward. There wasn't much wriggle room for Tony Mutter and Chris Nicholson there. So they're both on port tack, laying in towards Shark Island. They're not laying the mark, so they've got at least 2 more tacks to do to get around this turning mark at Shark Island. They'll round Shark Island to starboard, hoist the reaching sails, then scream again down towards Cano Point.
As you predicted, Peter, Wild Thing 100 is now on starboard tack and trailing those other 2 100-footers by 150 metres.
Back again to Wild Oats 10. She on the port tack up off middle of the harbour, just had passed to windward of Sound Pigs, and then down to leeward is URM, who's back a fair bit, as we said earlier, and not a familiar position for her.
Back in 6th position of the 8-boat fleet.
Mark, there's Shark Island Lighthouse at the northern end of the island, and Master Lock Comanche not far off attack here. She'll probably go close, pretty close to the island. She's just lifting on port tack, something you don't want when you're about to tack. But there she goes. So and LawConnect behind her has already tacked onto starboard. So it's a fair margin now. This delta would be 40 seconds or more, I would think. Got to get around the island and get these sails up once again to reach down the harbour. There's off George's Head is URM. Clifton Gardens in the background. So giving them a bit of a start today, the URM boys. And they need a good performance to consolidate the championship, the Maxi Championship on handicap. They are leading going into this final race.
But they've probably conceded a lot of ground here to Whisper, who's 10 feet shorter. Whisper ahead of URM Group at the moment, so...
Well, back on LawConnect, not far off attack. They'll come up to the port tack ley line here. And LawConnect not far off attack. There's the Shark Island Lighthouse. And I would think that they would be within about 10 seconds of attack. But there's URM. Ahead of her, I think, is Moneypenny. Getting a nice left-hand shift off Watson's Bay. Look at that crew on URM. They've got about 20 guys on this crew, and they're
21, Peter.
21. About 19 of them on the windward rail for extra stability. It's all about horsepower and riding moment here.
And all the brothers, Skipper Anthony, Andrew, David, Nigel and Nick. I think there are 3 or 4 sisters in the family as well, but they have no interest in ocean racing.
The Johnston boys, but here we go, watching the leading group come around Shark Island. That's Wild Thing 103rd spot. Now, there's the 2 leaders. Okay, they're round the mark now. Is Master Lock Comanche. She leads. Got that reaching sail already hoisted. They're unfurling now. There they go. So they'll run out here on port jibe and then jibe onto starboard for the big run down to back to Quay for the second time. So 25 minutes into the race and they're almost halfway through this course. So I
was going to say, these spectacular pictures coming to you courtesy of Sail Media and Principal Jimmy Bury. We're on board the Sail Media camera cat, but there are 2 cats out there today. Matt Coleman on the other boat. But great work by our camera crew of Alex Chittenden, Piers Hanscard, Chris Dredge and assistant Sam Brasher. And the pictures directed by Michael Chittenden, courtesy of Sail Media.
Okay, well, there's a screaming puff for Master Lock Comanche. She's got to get the bow down and jibe to get back to Manly. It's not an easy manoeuvre. Meanwhile, powering away behind her is LawConnect. Okay, here's Comanche running towards Bradley's head. Breeze, they're just probably waiting for a little breeze to go down. Here they go, they do. They're jibing without furling because there's enough breeze to get the little bit of a furl on to get that sail through. Yeah, fair bit of a furl. And they'll unfurl again and on their way on starboard to Manly. Nice job. You've got to furl those sails up to get them through the forestay. Otherwise, it could be very catastrophic. LawConnect's got to go through the same procedure. She's got a massive reaching spinnaker here. She'll furl, jibe, and then unfurl. Here the little boats on the left hand of the screen, led by Wild Oats 10. And Money Penny coming in on starboard.
URM has made up some ground.
And then in the background, there's the 2 leaders. One on starboard jibe, which is Comanche, and one about to get on starboard jibe, which is LawConnect. Here he goes. They do a smaller furl to get that spinnaker through. It's not through yet. No, they're going to do a complete furl, jibe the boat, unfurl, and away they go in hot pursuit of Master Lock Comanche. The lead back to about 150 metres, but these boats are going so quick, Gordon, that 150 metres can be gobbled up pretty quickly.
Quickly accelerating up to 18 knots now. LawConnect after that jibe. URM Group just trailing the big boys at the moment. Wild Oats 10 is there. There's Money Penny. Wild Oats 10 with that red 7 on the sail.
Yeah, Money Penny's done very well there, Gordon. She's rates a fair bit lower than URM. She's clearly ahead of her. And Wild Oats also an outstanding job by Mark Richards and his highly credentialed crew.
Yes, as we mentioned, Money Penny won't be competing in the Rolex Sydney Hobart, but Rob Appleyard from Perth will be taking the yacht back to WA and get it really up to speed for the 80th Rolex Sydney Hobart in 2025.
These boats are hard pressed now to get round George's head. The breeze, they've left the jibe probably a whisker late, and they're now struggling to try and get around George's head. Comanche's around. LawConnect will get around. We've got to put the bow up to do it. The breeze is really coming out of Rose Bay, but in the background, we've got Wild Thing 100 jibed early, and she is absolutely hammering down as she did in the first reach.
So we'll keep an eye on Wild Thing 100. She was trailing by 450 metres coming around Shark Island, but she's certainly travelling faster at the moment than the other two 100-footers.
Well, there's Comanche approaching the Western Channel wedding cake on Sydney Harbour. Just down a little bit in pressure, so she's able to get the bow up. But behind her, LawConnect really struggling at the moment with that massive reaching sail. But out in the middle of the harbour is Wild Thing 100. So this little smaller rig is certainly proving very successful in this reaching angle. I think what we're seeing here is that Master Lock Comanche has extended again. She's down approaching Obelisk Bay, off Obelisk, and then LawConnect's back off George's Head. And there's Wild Thing 100. She's down pressure here a little. She's probably in a bit of a lee of Nielsen Park. And there's LawConnect coming around to her bow, obviously a fair way down.
And really George's accelerating.
Head. She's got best pressure of these three at the moment, LawConnect. Well, they go to Manly, Quay Point, and back to Shark Island, and then the reach to the finish at the eastern end of the eastern side of the Opera House.
And we've been racing for just over half an hour as we come to the Quay Point mark rounding for the leaders for the second time. URM Group, Anthony Johnson with their 21-strong crew, trailing Moneypenny at the moment.
That's the turning mark at Shark Island, the laid orange buoy. The Moneypenny's around. URM only a couple of boat lengths away from the mark.
We'll try and pick up Whisper, Peter, because see how far behind they are, because they are very much in contention for the Australian Maxi Championship. They're behind URM at the moment. Whisper skippered by Dave Griffith, director of the Cruising Yacht Club of Australia, another famous Australian yachtsman. Master Lock Comanche with a handy lead, a couple of 100 metres over LawConnect, with Wild Thing 100 in third place, a further 250 metres astern.
Well, that's a great sight of these boats powering down the harbour towards Quay Point. Lovely day on Sydney Harbour. We can't say it enough, because such as it is, southerly breeze, 18 knots. A lot of spectator craft out to follow these giants of Australian ocean racing around this very short course. Okay, we're back at the Shark Island mark for the next group to come round, headed by Whisper. He will be next, and following him, I think, is probably No Limit. There's No Limit. So the boat that's probably well positioned on handicap at this stage is Wild Oats 10.
And this is Whisper, isn't it?
Yeah, but I'm saying with the handicap adjusted,
yeah,
Wild Oats 10 looks pretty strong, as does Whisper. Okay, Whisper's around. Mainsail off. So they're at Shark Island. Run out on port, jibe, and away they go to Manly.
And they're right in contention, as you say, Peter, Shipway, with Wild Oats 10 for that coveted handicap overall trophy in the Maxi Championship.
But a long lead here we can see to Master Lock Comanche over LawConnect. LawConnect has got a little bit better pressure than Comanche at the moment, so she's running her down a little bit, but still a fair way in front as No Limit goes round the Shark Island mark. So we're covering the front and we're covering the back of all this fleet. Remembering these little boats have got a very favourable handicap, so when handicaps are adjusted they'll come right into play. But on the water, waterline length, counts for everything. And it's the big fellas that are 1, 2 and 3. And there's no limit hoisting us. And there's in the distance is Whisper running on port, but at the turning mark, Comanche is around for the final time. So she's homeward bound to Shark Island. LawConnect just getting ready to furl their asymmetric spinnaker. So it's a nice lead again to Master Lock Comanche, probably the biggest lead she's had in the whole race.
It's going to be about 40-second lead, Peter. But after rounding this mark the first time, LawConnect was able to almost come a beam of Master Lock Comanche off Watson's Bay. But then Comanche was able to gas the other 100-footer and sneak away again.
Okay, so bow up on LawConnect. She's around.
40-second advantage for Master Lock Comanche.
She won't want to stub a toe because LawConnect will pounce, but at the moment, all the honours with the Comanche boys. So they're just tacking now to come across Sydney Heads. They'll sail a pretty similar course they did last time. They might not have to put that little shortener in off Sound Pigs because I think they're far enough ahead now of LawConnect to not be too worried. She's just settling down now on port tack. Really nice breeze through the heads, and here are the little boats, or when I say little boats, little compared to the Maxis.
From 60 to 79 feet.
Yeah, that's Wild Oats 10, URM, and Money Penny. They're down off George's Head, Obelisk, and there's the cross from Master Lock Comanche and LawConnect. She's got to stand out a little bit further, LawConnect, so she doesn't get in the gas of Master Lock Comanche. But the issue she's got now, if she goes too far on starboard here, she'll get high under the cliffs or not cliffs at Camp Cove, South Head area. It's always a bit tricky and squirrely there, the breeze, but lovely shot head on of Master Lock Comanche. Crew just getting the reaching sails away and setting up for the run to the finish once they round Clark Island. But it's a clear run now for the Comanche boys.
They've got a good gap over a minute and a half over Wild Thing 100, who's rounded the Cano Point mark.
See the breeze, plenty of it as these boats are hard reaching down towards Cano. URM really throwing it out the challenge to Wild Oats now.
It's been a very good recovery by URM because they were back in 6th place on that first leg to the Cano mark. But they look as though they're really going to challenge Wild Oats 10, which is 6 feet shorter.
Taking a little header there, a little down pressure on Comanche. And that's in the distance is Wild Thing 100 tacking. Or is it LawConnect? I think it LawConnect actually. There's LawConnect we're on. Well, we've got a bit of traffic coming up here. There's URM on the right, Wild Oats to the left, and then coming up the high diddle in a moment, you'll see the Manly Ferry. There he is. Where's he going to go? Is he going to go between them or below them? So a big gain to URM. No, the ferry's above both of them. So the ferry has right of way. So you don't want to argue with Mr. Ferryman. URM a much bigger reaching sail than's on Wild Oats, and it's pulled her in front. So they've made a good recovery, the URM boys, from where they were. And I think she will definitely be one of the handicap favourites for the Rolex Sydney Hobart race as we look at No Limit with the white spinnaker.
And Moneypenny behind Wild Oats 10.
Yeah. And then to the right is Master Lock Comanche coming upwind, approaching Inner South Reef. I think that is Moneypenny, Gordon, there.
Yes.
I think said No Limit before I did, but that is definitely Moneypenny.
No Limit's back in 8th spot at the moment.
Yes, she trails Whisper. Who's, there's three there. There's Moneypenny with all with the white spinnakers, then Whisper, then No Limit. But here's the race leader. I've been racing just on 40 minutes, and they're halfway up the final windward beat to Shark Island. Lovely familiar side of North Head, and there's Inner South Head. And there's Master Lock Comanche. Just approaching up Inner South Head now with Camp Cove, where the breeze tends to play a few tricks. But I'm sure Ian Murray's a pretty cool guiding hand for Matt Allen and James Mayo. They all know this harbour pretty well from many, many years of sailing, skiffs, 18-footers, yachts.
Yes, it's good to see that competitive instinct coming out from James Mayo and his world champion Etchell crew members.
There's
Graham
Whisper.
Taylor and Richard Ellenson.
That's the view that Whisper's looking at. URM, Wild Oats and Moneypenny. They're in good shape, Whisper.
Yeah, this is very important because Whisper, which is the smallest boat at 62 feet, is certainly in big contention with URM Group and Wild Oats 10 for the overall Australian Maxi Championship prize, the trophy on corrected time.
Getting a lovely run down the harbour here. They are towards Manly. Full power.
Dave Griffiths looking to repeat his winning effort in 2021 in the inaugural Australian Maxi Championship when he won the mini-maxi overall. But he's in very good shape at the moment to really press for that major trophy to be the Australian Maxi Champion.
Just as we speak, URM dropping their spinnaker down at the leeward mark to go round clearly ahead now of Wild Oats 10. Spinnaker coming down. The Wild Oats got a bit high there and they had a smaller spinnaker on and they're just hurting a little, I think. Well, Whisper's been at full pressure all the way down, as has Moneypenny. So they've still got a little bit to play out here as Master Lock Comanche is coming up off the Eastern Channel pile on the harbour off Watson's Bay. Just taking a bit of a header here, which is interesting. And off her hip again is LawConnect, getting a nice left-hander.
Master Lock Comanche just doing 15 knots.
Yeah, just a cruising speed, really, but basically going to windward at terrific speeds. These boats at phenomenal pace.
The yachts will finish east of the Opera House.
So you can see LawConnect's got again off the hip of Master Lock Comanche, but just taking a bit of a header though. Now Master Lock puts the bow up. They're into a bit truer breeze here. You can be a little concerned, but I think she's far enough ahead to not be too worried of the position. She's now got better pressure.
So, one thing we know about LawConnect, Peter, they're never beaten.
No, they never go away. Well, last year's Hobart race proved that. But now full biff on Comanche here. She's just coming up towards Nielsen Park, so it's going to get a bit lighter for her. LawConnect's back off bottle and glass, so still getting the breeze out of Vaucluse Bay, Watson's Bay area, but it'll be a bit fluky through here. So Masterlock cannot tack, that's for sure. She'll go into the real lee of Nielsen Park. She's got some little spiky bits of breeze come over the top here in this southerly breeze, and she's got plenty of pressure there.
So the order on the water, it's Masterlock Comanche from LawConnect, Wild Thing 100, then URM Group, Wild Oats 10, Money Penny, Whisper and No Limit. They're the 8 boats competing for the One Circular Quay Australian Maxi Championship, which coincides with the SOLAS Big Boat Challenge.
Just see how close they are up onto Nielsen Park there. Quite light for both boats. Masterlock Comanche will be first to punch out round Steel Point, and then it's plain sailing from there on in. Good, strong southerly bashing out of Rose Bay. She's not quite into the true breeze yet, probably another 3 boat lengths and she'll be into it. Staying high on port, she don't think she'll lay the Shark Island turning mark there. She's not quite in the breeze yet. Probably another 2 boat lengths and she'll be there. Just starting to put the bow into it. There she goes. You can see how upright in the background LawConnect is. She had nowhere to go there. She had to stay high, and now she's bow down in light pressure. Just what you don't want if you're on LawConnect.
So barring any mishaps, Masterlock Comanche has both hands on a couple of trophies here at the moment. Not only the SOLAS Big Boat, but line honours, but also the line honours in the One Circular Quay Australian Maxi Championship.
Well, URM's around the bottom mark, the leeward mark at Quay Point, and on her way, back upwind, just going across the heads. You can see LawConnect's really hurting there now.
Third boat there is Wild Thing 100.
Yep, she's sailed up this eastern shore again that the other 2 did, and she did the first time. She went out on the western side. Didn't pay off really, but all the lifts are coming out of the left now with this breeze.
This boat, originally as Comanche, took line honours in the Rolex Sydney Hobart in 2015 for Jim Clark, the American billionaire, and a 2-time line honours winner for Jim Cooney, but pipped on the post last year by LawConnect. The tables appear to have been turned today.
Well, an interesting cat amongst the pigeon here is that Wild Thing 100, because of its small rig, rates very favourably for a 100-footer. So she could come into contention on the handicap placings here because she's close enough to these big boats to probably beat them on time. Whether she's far enough ahead of the mini-maxis, I don't know, but you would not want to discount her for handicap prize here today, the Wild Thing 100. She's just coming around Steel Point now, but here's the race leader. And is she laying the mark? No, she's not. She's got 2 more tacks to go. She's high on port, but not high enough to get round the mark. And she's just probably down pressure a little. It's a little lighter here now in Rose Bay. Probably 15, 16 knots as opposed to the 20 knots that we've seen across Watson's Bay and the headsman. Now, there she goes. She's tacking. You can see that reaching pole out the starboard side there. That will push the reaching sails out further to open the slot between the jib and to give a better angle for the sails to set on the run to the finish. A lot of these boats carry that reaching pole, or the old-fashioned terms, a jockey pole. It's just to open the angle for these. She'll probably go double-headed or even triple-headed rig to the finish. It's just to get the sails to exhaust much better. You can see the pole quite significantly there, just on the maximum beam as she tacks. So she will lay the mark, and the finish way in the distance at the Opera House.
LawConnect making it interesting.
Well, she's almost laying in one. She got a really good left hand around Steel Point. And if she lays, she'll be have cut the distance in half, really. Save her 2 tacks. So they're holding height. They've been high mode on the LawConnect. Okay. A lot of spectator boats now gathering. We're watching. Master Lock Comanche is around. On her way for home at the Opera House, and LawConnect right up the exhaust pipe, but I don't think close enough at the moment. And away they come. This will be some speed sailing here to the finish, especially once they get down off Double Bay, Rushcutters Bay. Still a little bit light now. You can see the bow down. LawConnect will lay that mark. She's gone for a big reaching sail. She's hoisted the furl sail to the masthead on the LawConnect, so she's going to throw everything at it.
Is this another prelude to this year's Rolex Sydney Hobart finish? Just less than 2 boat lengths separated these two 100-footers at the end of the 628-mile race last year. And now they're separated by less than 100 metres in the final sprint to the finish.
Okay, you can see Master Lock Comanche's got the spinnaker ready, the reaching sail ready to unfurl. They've unfurled. LawConnect's already unfurled. Bow down. Here they come. Master Lock in a little bit of a light spot. Master LawConnect is flying now, a lot quicker than Comanche, but Comanche just picking up speed. She's getting away from the lee of Point Piper. See the much bigger sail on LawConnect. And there's plenty of breezes up off Double Bay, Rushcutters Bay. And maybe the smaller sail on Master Lock Comanche could be beneficial in this stronger winds.
Some anxious looks over the shoulder from
now,
the crew on board Master Lock Comanche, but LawConnect, the distance looks to be just beyond her.
Beyond her, I think, is correct.
But boy, has she made a fight of it.
Plenty of white water from spectators and yachts alike.
You can probably hear the sirens of the water police telling spectators to get out of the way.
Well, you'd want to get out of the way. Look at these boats. They are powering to the finish, 25 plus knots. LawConnect fully wigged up with that big reaching sail. Looks a look more comfortable on the Master Lock Comanche. They're both bowed down, not laying anywhere near the finishing line, but that's okay. They'll get out in the middle of the harbour, either furl those sails and put the bow up, but at the moment, it's all Master Lock Comanche. What a sight for Matt Allen and James Mayo.
We saw this in the Derwent River last year, Peter, at the end of the race.
Not quite this pace, though,
yes,
Gordon.
no.
It was about...
There was no wind.
It was about 24 knots slower than they're doing now. Comanche looks very comfortable. It's going to get a bit lighter as they get towards Garden Island. You can just see sitting up a bit higher now. LawConnect still hammering away down to leeward. But she's going to run out of runway here.
Matt Allen and James Mayo, Master Lock Comanche. Matt Allen, Sydney Hobart legend, 3-time winner with Ichiban. And they have put in a masterclass here today. Just as LawConnect did last year, covering every move that Andrew Comanche made.
They're just getting into a softer spot under Garden Island. I think they'll keep this reaching sails up here and we'll get up to the finish, but these boats, to roll these sails up, to furl them up, it's not a big deal. You just got to be coordinated, and these crews try and get some times here and do a very rough calculation for you. So we'll see.
Master Lock Comanche then, just 100 metres from the finish of the SOLAS Big Boat Challenge for 2024 and the climax of the One Circular Quay Australian Maxi Championship.
She's about 50 metres to go in a race took the 55 minutes. So there you go.
That's got to be one of the quickest we've
3,
seen.
2, 1, and now. Okay.
Master
So-
Lock Comanche then.
She's over, and as we speak, LawConnect just furling that massive reaching sail up now to get up to the finishing line. She's still got plenty of wind. She's got to get the bow up a little. Haven't quite got that furl under control yet.
But in the end, a convincing performance there by Master Lock Comanche to stave off the challenges of LawConnect. Having a problem here on their furl, which has slowed them down and pushed the margin out to almost a minute at the finish.
Yeah, the furl's not good. So they've just got plenty of wind. They've got about a couple of boat lengths to go, and there's LawConnect now. Just they get the furl done. 54 seconds. I've got the delta between Master Lock Comanche and LawConnect.
Wild Thing 100 is probably 800 metres astern.
Yes,
And they had their moments, but
Yeah, they
made a couple of wrong decisions.
I thought they were a little closer, but anyway, they've put in a pretty steady effort.
A lot of encouragement there for Grant Warrington.
They're giving hard reaching conditions in the Hobart race. He might surprise a few people. He probably needs plenty of wind and true wind angle of 120 degrees, something like that. It might be good for him.
Formerly Stefan Racing, as we mentioned, a 20-foot extension prior to last year's race. And as Peter told you, still the old mast in place, but Grant Warrington and Adrian Seifert have plans to replace that mast with a full rig in February.
She began life as bow jest, this boat. 80-footer boat tin design for Carl Quay. So she's grown in size and lots been happening to her. So she's still got a couple of 100 metres to go, and she's right in the lee now of Garden Island. So she's got a relatively slow finish coming up. She's already 2 minutes 20 behind the finishing time of Master Lock Comanche. Just see how light it is now between her and the finish. It's Warrow steering. I think he's going to Hobart with his 2 children on board, which I think he did last year.
Yes, I think that's his daughter, Lisa.
No, they're very, very slow here. So slow finish is not good for handicap positions. So she's still 50 metres from the finishing line, just getting the breeze out of Garden Island, the naval base. So
Peter, it's going to be down to the mini-maxis now to see whether they can do enough in this finish to beat the 100-footers on corrected time. And it's going to be a battle between URM Group, Wild Oats 10, and also Whisper. They're the 3 contenders of the mini-maxis. If they're able to take the handicap prize off the clubhouse leader at the moment.
just my very rough calculations, Gordon, is that you are in an hour's race, URM has got to beat Wild Oats by about a minute 15, and URM has got to beat Whisper by about just over 6 minutes. So that's based on a race that took an hour, but it'll be a bit longer than that for these mini-maxis.
And people don't realise, I mean, someone asked me a question the other day. It's not fair that those little boats have to compete against the 100-footers, but the whole idea of the handicapping system, Peter, is that it's a level playing field. So that's why these mini-maxi boats that we're going to see finish very shortly are right in the contention to take the overall prize.
Well, that's right. I mean, it's always been us. I mean, the bigger the boat, in theory, the faster you'll be. And why do the little boats go to Hobart or do any racing? Because the sophisticated handicapping systems they use try to equalise all the boats, so they should all finish on handicap at roughly the same time. So that is often the case, that you have boats winning on handicap by a couple of seconds, even though they might have finished a day apart.
And 30-footers have won the race.
Absolutely. So that's URM just rounding the Shark Island mark, bound for home. She's 5.5 minutes already behind Master Lock Comanche. But it is a very sophisticated way they evolve a handicap. They measure the boat, the height of the mast, the weight of the boat, the overhangs, the sail size. So it all gets thrown into a computer and it spits out an answer, and that's your handicap for the race. And as we're watching URM streaking downwind, she's done very well in the second half of this race, as Wild Oats still tacking on starboard to tack around the Shark Island mark.
They have a brilliant young navigator on board, Alice Parker. She married last year, now Alice Tarnowski, and she is a top sailor in her own right, and she really has been performing beautifully with the URM Group. All 5 brothers on board, the Johnson brothers, and also the Wallaby Bill Young. We might even pick up Bill.
So you can see they've got a double head rig. It's a high flying jib that is really good at this tight reaching angle. The boat is not overpowered at all, but they've got plenty of stability in this boat because of all the crew. And they're now just trying to navigate a ferry that's going across their bow, which we can't see, but the ferry's clear. They're down off Point Piper, so they're probably 4 or 5 minutes from the finish. And just behind them around Shark Island off camera now is Wild Oats around. There they go. Wild Oats 10.
And these 3 boats are racing the clock, literally. URM, Wild Oats 10, and also Whisper a bit further back. Money Penny about to go round.
There's Wild Oats. You can see Wild Oats 10 around, going high under Point Piper. Good breeze still in Rose Bay. There's URM. You can see that flying jib that I was talking about, double head rig. Very good for tight reaching angles. She's got plenty of breeze now as she approaches up into Rose Bay, Double Bay, sorry.
I mentioned Bill Young, the Wallaby International. He packed down in the World Cup final with Al Baxter and Brendan Cannon in the front row for Australia against England when Johnny Wilkinson broke Australian hearts at the Olympic Stadium.
Don't remind us, Gordon. I'm still having nightmares about it. But
it was England's stairway to rugby heaven, Peter.
Yeah, well, Marcus Ashley Jones, the skipper for the Johnston brothers on URM. Grant Simmer is aboard. Highly credentialed Australian sailor. Anthony Merrington, the man they call Youngster. His brother Billy's on Whisper. Anthony these days lives in New Zealand, in lovely town of Cambridge. Pete Harris is on board, son of the legendary John Harris, who's a 30-plus Hobart races to his belt. But we're watching now Mark Richards setting a big reaching sail on the Wild Oats.
So we're all on tenterhooks really to see who wins the IRC corrected time price in the Australian Maxi Championship, sponsored by One Circular Quay, and also the handicap winner in the SOLAS big boat race. So there were 2 championships in one here today, but Money Penny doing a splendid job, and Whisper just about to go round the mark, the smallest of the mini-maxis, and they are still in contention for the overall prize in the Maxi Championship of Australia.
Well, URM leads by 1 point over Wild Oats, and then a further 3 points to Whisper. So it'll be close, but I think We'll just see what...
What's your gut feeling, Peter?
Well, I think Whisper's probably close enough, but she needs to put a few boats between her and the next, certainly between URM and Wild Oats, which might not be happening. So it could get down to between Wild Oats and URM. Well, watching URM now. Oh, there's Wild Oats fully wigged up with that big reaching sail. Wow, plenty on for Rico there. He'd be saying a few words. I think they let the main sheet go to try and keep the boat on her feet. You've got Robbie Naismith over from New Zealand sailing. Very good sailor. Matt Shillington over from Western Australia. They'll be doing some work there. There's Whisper just ready to unfurl. Reaching sail, and in the distance we just saw No Limit, the tail ender of this fleet. Just watching now, there's Dave Griffith at the helm.
Whisper won the SOLAS Big Boat Challenge in 2021 and was the Australian Maxi champion in the mini-maxi division. Very well performed boat. Hasn't had a lot of luck in recent times. Hit a whale off the Queensland coast.
Okay, we're just watching URM now getting to the finish, so we'll try and get a rough time here on URM. See the committee boat just top of her mast. So she'll leave that to starboard. And that's Whisper on the right of screen, just unfurling. I think that's probably a new spinnaker for the series and the Hobart race. Billy Merrington down to leeward. It's walking up to windward. But we're on URM here. There she comes, the committee boat. We'll just get a time on her. See how close we can be to try and calculate some handicap results. URM about a boat length away, so we'll put her down, let's say about 12 minutes behind Master Lock Comanche.
And Wild Oats 10 will cross the line very shortly. Only 1 point behind URM going into this final race in the Australian Maxi Championship. So wouldn't that be a fairy tale result, Peter, if the 20-year-old boat can come through and become the Australian Maxi champion? It's on. It's a possibility.
Well, it's a beautiful boat. It's a very good crew. Lovingly owned by the Oatley team. Not sure whether Sandy's on board today, but he normally does these races. And here comes Wild Oats now. Still got that really good pressure to finish. That's the finishing point. 12:43. She goes.
Now, if they are ahead on handicap in this result and they're equal on points, what happens there, Peter? If Wild Oats and URM are equal on points?
Well, they split it by who's had the most wins, and that will be
Wild Oats.
Wild Oats.
There you go.
But I think
Whisper is still in everyone's ears at the moment. Don't forget us, is the word from Dave Griffith.
So that's Money Penny now coming to the finish. Not quite at the finishing line yet. Back on Whisper here. They'll be looking at their clocks.
We'll be heading back to the Cruising Yacht Club of Australia for the prize giving. Australia's premier ocean racing club, the CYC. Perfect location for functions, dining and drinks by the water. And the Cruising Yacht Club of Australia is open 7 days a week for breakfast, lunch and dinner. And you can visit the club's website, cyca.com.au, for more information. And go to the website to follow all of the big races and to see who actually comes out on top here today in this gripping handicap struggle. Will it be Whisper here? Can they snatch it from the other bigger mini-maxis?
Yes, I think they'll win the day, Whisper, but I don't think they'll win the series. But it's very provisional. And we don't want to get anyone too excited or too despondent. But Whisper now is about only 3.5 minutes from time URM finished. So a very quick finish will suit the smaller handicap rating boats. There goes boats going home now, packing up. There's
Whisper going past Garden Island, Peter, heading down towards that city skyline, and off to the left of the bridge in the Opera House will be the location of one circular quay, and that 58-storey luxury residential complex that will be completed in 2026. The naming rights sponsor for the Australian Maxi Championship. And perhaps, Peter, it might be an opportunity for you to purchase there and to downsize
I was going to say,
one of those units.
You'd have a freebie there, surely. You'd have a freebie. It's there somewhere, but pretty nice spot, I must say.
Number one spot on the pole for one circular quay.
I'll look forward to drinks on the balcony, Gordon, when you purchase one of those. And here's No Limit, bringing up the rear. That's Whisper here. One to come from her, behind her. She's furled that smaller reaching sail. She's just approaching the finish. So I think, as far as the handicap goes, I think Whisper will beat both URM and Wild Oats. But we're watching No Limit with a smaller reaching sail, just going across Rushcutters Bay.
David Goetz, the Reichel Pew 63, will be competing in the Rolex Sydney Hobart. Secured third place in the mini-maxis division in last year's championship. David Goetz travels up from Melbourne. He commutes. Former Commodore of the Royal Brighton Yacht Club, member of the Sandringham Yacht Club and the Cruising Yacht Club. I'd hate to be paying all these yachting fees.
Let alone his
subscription
airfares.
fees and his airfares.
So Whisper's across. $17.40. It will be close between Wild Oats 10 and Whisper on my very crude calculations for handicap for today's race, actually. But I think Wild Oats will beat URM.
For the overall Maxi Championship.
Yeah, perhaps.
Yeah, so it's all up in the air, but it will be confirmed on the CYCA website.
So we're watching No Limit right off Garden Island, just approaching the finish. So she's the last boat home.
Just a matter of 200 metres now to the finish for No Limit. Skippered by David Goetz, former president of Australian Sailing. And they've got almost 20 crew members on board. It's been a stimulating, adrenaline-charged sail for all competitors on Sydney Harbour today in the fresh southerly, breeze gusting over 20 knots. And it was Master Lock Comanche who just grabbed the start and was able to cover arch rival LawConnect all the way, and in the end came away with a victory of just under 1 minute for line honours. And this is the 8th and final competitor, the mini-maxi No Limit, sail number 98888 for David Goetz, the Reichel Pew 63, crossing the line in the 2024 SOLAS Big Boat Challenge.
Okay, well, it's done and dusted for another year.
An hour and a quarter from the time they started. It was hectic. It was a bit white knuckle there at stages, Peter, with all those white caps and some bumpy seas. But your final thoughts?
Well, the thing you remember, all these yachts are very well prepared, very well crewed. So, just a great day of sailing. I mean, good southerly breeze, 18 to 20 knots. Some fantastic rides down the harbour, especially by the two big fellas, Master Lock Comanche and LawConnect, 20 knot plus at times, but solid performance for all the fleet. And the smaller mini-maxis did very well also. I think Wild Oats 10 Whisper looked very prominent. URM back a little early, but got through as well. But all the fleet, a tremendous occasion for spectators alike, and it's really a really good opener now to the Rolex Sydney Hobart race, although it doesn't play really any significant part, but it's good to get people interested in yachting.
It certainly puts everyone on notice for what is going to be another fantastic struggle, particularly between those big boys and also the handicap situation, which was such a gripping effort last year. Our big thanks to Sail Media and our skipper Jimmy Bury, our director Michael Chittenden, and also the Sail Media camera team. Thanks for joining us, and please follow all the action with the Cruising Yacht Club of Australia on their website.